I'm Cedric Wilson, a licensed professional counselor, LPC for short. I am also the founder and owner of Seeking Wellness Counseling Services and have been the main motivator for our therapeutic gaming program.
My name is Megan Keith. I'm an LCSW, a licensed clinical social worker, and been playing games for as long as I can remember.
My name is Dr. Jacoby Laurie. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Buffalo in their school counseling program. And at Seeking Wellness, I'm the program researcher and K-12 consultant.
How would you all describe your therapeutic gaming program in just a sentence or two?
Sure. Therapeutic gaming is mainly relying on gaming to be the conduit for therapy. So we utilize tabletop games, we use video games, and that is kind of like the center of what we do, and then incorporating some therapeutic aspects into the gaming space.
Absolutely. I would add that therapeutic gaming also serves as a way to expand access to what is typically the therapeutic process to individuals or groups that may feel less comfortable as well doing the straight talk, one-on-one talk therapy. And so in this way, we get to use gaming as that conduit that you're mentioning to also then reflect some of the things that we experience in our day-to-day life that then the trained mental health professional gets to understand and walk through with our clients that use it.
Yeah.
So this alternate form of group therapy, you say, would be an advantage to those who have maybe an aversion to traditional group therapy?
Well, I would add a caveat that I think the program we're creating is not therapy, right? And so the therapeutic gaming phrase is actually really intentional because we don't want the two to be confused. But it is supposed to be a bit of a less structured space with a, I think, initiator for a lot of conversation topics, or even like a replicator for real life scenarios, even though it's played out through a fictional game of things that may be able to like trigger anger or sadness or disappointment or celebration for whoever is playing.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say, for example, if you had somebody who didn't feel comfortable maybe going to like a group therapy session for something or centered around grief, but if they came into therapeutic gaming, maybe that felt a little bit safer, and there was a theme of grief incorporated into playing the game, it allows them to kind of explore those emotions and those feelings kind of more in a slightly structured way, but maybe not as vulnerable as like a traditional like group therapy practice.
Thank you. So what populations do you primarily work with or aim to work with therapeutic gaming?
The main populations that we're working with are usually teens and young adults, typically around 12, 13 years old, all the way up until about 17 for our like more kids group, kind of teenage group, and then potentially a young adult group.
Historically, we have been aiming for, I think, the adolescent age group to provide the therapeutic gaming space towards. But I'm really excited about what we've done over the last year in our planning process to expand who can access therapeutic gaming. And so right now we're starting with adolescents and young adults, but we're hoping to bring that to more and more people over time.
Interesting. So how do you guys decide on the type of game or system that you're going to use in a particular session?
So we utilize a couple of different things. The tabletop game that we most refer to is Dungeons and Dragons. It has been around for several years, since the 70s. But the reason why we kind of utilize that one is because it can be shifted, it can be changed, it can be molded to whatever kind of game you want to play. So it has basic structure and rules, but you can set it in medieval times. You can go to outer space. You can make whatever type of setting, whatever type of character you want. So that really kind of leaves a lot open to explore, and lots of different options. So yeah, that's the reason why we choose that one for tabletop. And for video games, I would say we kind of look to those games that can be more co-op play. You can play with other people. And also, those co-op games usually bring about some frustration tolerance. So something like Mario Kart, or maybe Smash Brothers, or something like Overcooked. More of those team games, so that you're engaging with other people, like in the group setting, and getting those emotions kind of higher.
So, how do you balance gameplay with your therapeutic roles?
Great question. Gameplay is kind of balanced with the therapeutic aspects, but we kind of rely more heavily on gameplay. So, like I said, it's not exactly therapy. This is using games as a way to open up therapeutic conversations. So we might play Dungeons and Dragons for, I don't know, say 30 minutes, take a break, kind of assess where everyone's at, check in, do a check in, maybe scan your body, see what's going on, see how everyone's feeling, then jump back in. So yeah, it might be let's take a break every so often, or it might be let's play a game or a round, take a break from that, check in with each other, and then go back into the game. Yeah.
And I think our hope with it too is that we get to be a little more intentional and creative about the atmospheres that we are setting for our participants, right? So part of the process will be using the therapeutic gaming space to copy or imitate what they go through in real life. And so we'll get some information from people ahead of time before they ever start about what they might be struggling with. And then we get to choose certain things, like what game we think might be one that activates to a safe level to be able to then work through with our participants, or games that we think would be really powerful to then help guide our participants through a certain scenario. That way they can build the skills that they're looking for.
Right.
Are there specific or particular moments in the game that tend to lead to moments of emotional processing that you all can identify?
Yeah. One instance, I think, is playing Overcooked, the video game Overcooked. So if you've ever played that game, you know that it is a really high stress, frustrating game at times. You are playing as a little tiny chef. You are playing with a friend. You're playing together to create different dishes. These dishes have ingredients, and there are several obstacles in your way that will make it that much harder. All the while, you have to do this within a very certain time limit, and that adds another layer of pressure. So with this, that has a tendency to get people kind of elevated, pretty frustrated. They may even turn into Gordon Ramsay and start yelling in the kitchen. So that is one that we've definitely seen that can really bring those emotions to the surface, especially frustration, anger, those kinds of things. With tabletop games, it's really kind of whatever scenario they maybe present with at the beginning, we can kind of make those situations kind of occur. One that I think of is when maybe people experience a bullying situation, like at school, and that was really impactful for them. In the game of Dungeons and Dragons, we might create a situation in which that player would witness somebody being bullied, like on the street, how would they handle that? What are the feelings that come up when they witness these things? So it still allows that exploration, but kind of like more in a controlled manner.
Mm-hmm. If you've ever gamed, I think you've gotten emotional.
Mm-hmm.
I think games have a really unique way of having us invest our emotions in whatever we're like working through or playing through, and that's what we're counting on.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, like I think as we invite people to participate in the gaming programs with us, we are expecting a certain level of emotional engagement. We're planning on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily that we are intending to trigger and activate people or make them so upset, but it just comes with the territory of winning and losing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so we're using that as also a facilitator for the greater work that comes with understanding yourself, building community, developing skills that you want to then bring forward in real life.
Yeah.
So, how do you manage in-game conflict or role play that does trigger these heightened emotions?
Right. So when these emotions arise, it's important that we all kind of start the session with some ground rules. So at the beginning, we always kind of make sure that we cover those ground rules, make sure everybody's on the same page, and let them know that this is a safe space. They know that emotions can run high. And so as a result, things may get a little heated or, a little emotional. But we lay the groundwork to make sure that everybody is using like language that is appropriate, that they are aware of that space, they can take breaks when they need to, and just keeping a respectful tone around the language that's being used and the emotional exploration. Mm-hmm. So I think that's really important, just kind of like setting that from the beginning.
I would say that creating space for emotions is what we do really well as therapists, mm-hmm. right? In the gaming world too, I think other gamers also identify with this, like how we may accidentally navigate into areas of really personal life, mm-hmm. and then you find this surprise support network that you never really intended or expected to have, right? And so when we're doing that, we're doing it intentionally. We are inviting people to know that this is what they're signing up for, to find that kind of community, and to also be able to find releases as well as a practice ground for how to display your emotions, understand your emotions, and share them.
Yeah, yeah.
Do players use avatars or characters to explore parts of themselves, and how do you work with that therapeutically?
Yeah, a big part of this process is creating an avatar, creating your in-game persona, so to speak. With Dungeons and Dragons, this is a massive part. It's so much so that we spend an entire session just doing that. It is important. It is going to be a representative of you. What do you want that person to look like? What do you want that person to act like? How do you want them to dress? These are all like very important aspects that are going to say something about you in the game. I think it's almost impossible not to kind of intertwine the both. And same thing with an avatar in, like say, Super Smash Brothers. Everybody has a main. Mm-hmm. Meaning that they always have like some character that they go to. It is their one character that they like really resonate with. Whether that be because you like the way that they kind of kick. Maybe they can jump really, really high than another character. But there's something about it that you connect with and that you like. So yeah, it is a very important process.
I love that Megan had mentioned creating a character that you want, and I would double down on that piece in particular. I think what the therapeutic gaming space has also a unique opportunity to do, somewhat differently than traditional therapy, is to practice leaning into identities that we might be more timid or reserved about displaying to the rest of the world for whatever reason, right? But here, either in the creation of an avatar or just in how you want to show up in this therapeutic space, you get to try on this different identity or hat in a way that feels a little safer, that has a different set of consequences than if you had just walked out the door and attempted to lean into a different aspect of your identity.
Right.
So how do you document progress or therapeutic gains from these gaming sessions?
Yeah, so the way that we document that is everybody starts off with completing a survey. We get a little bit of information about you as a person, but we're also going to ask you how you handle day-to-day situations, what comes up for you, what things are you wanting to address in therapeutic gaming, and we build that questionnaire so you take that at the start of sessions. We're going to also check in with you with the same questionnaire towards the middle of our program, and then at the end as well. What new skills did you pick up? What new things did you learn? Was this really, really helpful? What ways can we make it better? So all of those things we do check in multiple times throughout the program to see that progress noted.
Yeah. I think we also get to challenge and sidestep a lot of the Western medical model by being able to create something like therapeutic gaming. So I think in that perspective, there's often this milestone view where are we hitting a marker? Are we getting you to a certain point? And this is less so, right? I think that we kind of relax that model a bit. We get to incorporate different cultures by saying what is important to you, right? What is the growth that you specifically want? And we don't have to necessarily fix anything. And so we have some structure, of course, built into those questionnaires that help us be able to tailor what the gaming program is going to be and make sure that it is actually something that is helpful for our participants and that we can gain a glimpse of ways that we can steer it to be of more value to you. But it is not necessarily working to fix or resolve any concern specifically to a medical degree, right? This gets to be an experience. This gets to be pure growth and hopefully a lot of fun along the process.
So what are some common themes that tend to come up in this type of therapy or therapeutic process?
Yeah, with our groups, a common theme that we found with adolescents was isolation. Feeling isolated, that kind of social anxiety piece, fear of making a mistake, quote unquote, in a friend group. So really exploring those social skills and kind of bridging that gap of isolation was a big thing that we saw come up.
I think another big question that comes up, and this may not be the best phrasing of it, but who am I? And at times, why am I? And they ended up being really deep personal questions that we walked through. And of course, some of those don't necessarily have really clear, finite answers. But in this process of connecting with people, having a common goal, understanding where we see our strengths and values, potentially in context to other people, ends up being this freeing experience where they then get to wrestle with this idea and get feedback about how others may see them, again, in a space that is safer and really encouraging.
How do you support clients with different levels of social skills or neurodiversity or even trauma history?
Yeah, so it kind of goes back to those ground rules, those ground rules that we set. Everyone is operating at different levels, different places of trauma, whatever it might be. So making sure that everybody understands, hey, let's set some ground rules. What are possible triggers? What are some things that we need to be aware of before we even start playing? I know for one of the groups, we set a rule that was no harm to animals, because that was something that was upsetting for one of our players. And that's okay. That's okay. We're going to set that rule, and that is a no-go zone. So just making sure that everybody feels safe and comfortable to express themselves, but also being aware and making sure that everybody is aware of like what potentially could come up and how do we manage that when it does come up.
This is another area that we have intentionally included some structure. In its first ideas and creation, the Therapeutic Gaming program considered a wider group for who could access it and be able to utilize it, right? And so we have been thinking about those communities when there are concerns about how does someone like make eye contact and sustain conversation for long periods of time, which can be really difficult depending on what your neurodivergencies are, right? In the traditional therapy context. And so therapeutic gaming kind of like shatters that boundary a bit to be able to say, we're going to work on this thing together. You don't have to stare at me the whole time, right? And there is this positive reinforcement that comes with collaboration, that comes from taking a step into some emotions that may be traditionally uncomfortable for them and learning that there can be a payout, right? A win from entering into those, being able to work with other people, and then learning more about yourself.
So what challenges have you all encountered using this therapeutic gaming?
So some of the challenges have been, and I think any D&D group would agree, scheduling. Making sure to make like everybody can meet at the same time. It is a commitment. It is a big commitment. So can you all meet at the same time every week for like 8 weeks straight? Like that's a pretty big ask, And then some of the other challenges would be just managing those emotions, like in the game, like when they come up. But scheduling, I think, has been like one of the bigger hurdles.
Yeah. So scheduling, I think access, and that has had a few different points, like whether that is location, whether that is price point, right? Whether that is like inclusive and inclusion of culture, right? We have been spending a lot of time working on those things, trying to understand those things since our first pilot program a year ago. And so I would say that has been the challenge in front of us. But one of the things that we have been doing to study and to like widen that initial limit or boundary is starting this right here, like being able to have an open house, being able to talk to people directly about what the program looks like, being able to find ways to make it accessible online and virtually, rather than coming to one specific physical location, which is still in the works too.
Right.
So how do you manage boundaries between fantasy and real life, especially with younger clients?
So managing the boundaries can be kind of complicated at times. There is a book that we utilize that talks about this a little bit. It's called the Finds Frames, and that there are different frames that you're working in. Perspective from the player, perspective from the character, what's happening in game, and then also that therapeutic aspect too. And they kind of ebb and flow in and out of each other constantly. So a way that we kind of separate that out a little bit is your character saying this in game? Are you saying this out of game? Would this be you as a person, or is this you as a player? Is this your character? Describe it to me. Things like that. So making sure that it's clear about where you're at, whether that be as the character or player or person. Yeah.
I think what really helps ground the work that we're doing with the therapeutic gaming program is still anchoring it with consequences, right? So in gaming too, whatever action that you take has some sort of reaction or consequence to it. We're doing the same thing, but making it just a little bit meta, right? Talking about the gameplay, bringing it back home, like how did the choice you made impact the rest of your teammates, right? How did you intend for your actions to play out in the game? Did it have that same consequence that you intended, right? And then working through it that way. So we obviously try to immerse our clients into the gameplay to be able to have the conversations that we want in real life, but then we bring it back, right? So what does this do to you in real life after you have done it in the game? I would also add that Megan in particular has taken like different trainings to understand what gameplay does in a negative sense. So you have taken the training for like gambling and addictions, which is a whole different side of gameplay and its negative consequences, and are able to navigate like when this becomes something really productive for something like group building, right, compared to an addiction that doesn't really have any sort of end or like satisfaction to it.
Right. Yep, absolutely.
So what impact have you seen with this work with clients?
With clients, the impact that we've seen is to bridge those social connections. The pilot group that we had, the people participating kind of struggled with that at times, and how to open up conversations in real life. Okay, great. So we're going to put your players in the game as strangers, but you know that you're going to have to work together on this common goal. How are you going to strike up that conversation? And so hopefully that'll build some confidence for them to take those steps in the real world and that social connectedness.
I agree.
And last question. What has surprised you about using therapeutic gaming?
I think what surprised me most is the range, and depth that this can really be tailored to a lot of different situations, a lot of different cultures, dynamics, like so many things. It feels like the sky's the limit when it comes to designing gameplay and incorporating this into like the therapy practice. I think that's been probably the most eye-opening. I didn't think it had this much. I didn't think that it did. But being able to play Dungeons and Dragons as long as I have, I don't know, it just seems pretty great. And then like seeing video games be used in similar ways. I played them for a long time, but never really considered, oh, this could be like really somatic work. But yeah, it's pretty fantastic. Yeah.
I think I've been really surprised at its reception, right? We are not the first ones to do it, nor the only ones to do it, but every time that we talk to people about this idea that has started out as a passion project,
yeah,
we get a lot of positive and excited reactions to it.
Yeah.
And so I think that we're really building something here, and something that people are wanting that is new and slightly different than that traditional therapy approach.
Yeah.
And I think I'm hoping just that we're able to create that access and availability for it.
Well, thank you so much for meeting with me and for talking about therapeutic gaming.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.